evening, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Rangers game day. Preseason, 7 p.m. against the Boston Bruins. We got a special video coming for you guys today. Second time recording it, but it's all right, though. Statboy Steven, introduce yourself.
I mean, it's a Rangers fan living in Europe. Follow prospects and interview them and talk to them and.
He's a legend. Yeah. He's a legend. He's being humble right now. If you want to know and learn all things, everything about Rangers prospects, go to Statboy Steven's Twitter right here. You can see it. I'm going to link it down in the description below. If you want to see prospect interviews, get to know the guys, see cool stats, or see him on MSG Networks, thanks to Valley View and Sam Rosen, give him a look. The guy is freaking awesome. This is huge. Just so excited, so happy to have him on. We're going to be talking about lesser-known prospects, 7 of them today. We're going to get his input. He's talked to, I think, all these guys, right? You talked to all 7 of these dudes, so we're going to get some good insider and just be excited, guys. This is going to be freaking awesome. I'm going to say let's get right into it. What do you think?
Sure, let's go for it.
Let's do it. All right, so the format of this right here, the top left-hand corner, you have the name of the prospect, how we acquired them, and quick hit statistics. So we'll start with Riley Hughes, make it nice and easy. Riley Hughes, 7th-round pick in 2018 by the New York Rangers, brother of Jack Hughes. I'm going to leave it there. I'll let you do some research on that one. Quick hits on Riley Hughes. He is 6'2", 194 pounds per elite prospects. Pretty big kid. He's 21 years old, right wing, right-handed shot. In the NCAA in his career so far, .25 points per game, which is not great. However, if you look at this number right here, in his freshman year in the NCAA, he had .118 points per game. But his sophomore year, .476 points per game. So an over 30-point jump, which is pretty darn impressive for the kid. Got to see what he does in his junior year, but the jump from freshman to sophomore is big, so let's see what he does in junior. The floor for him, so basically where I think he'll kind of where he's gonna, what's the right word? The worst he could be, in my opinion, would be like a middle 6 AHL score, whereas the ceiling, or the best I could see him being, will be a depth third-line NHL scorer. Someone you would be able to compare him to that we've seen and we're familiar with as Ranger fans would be like a Benoit Pouliot or a Victor Stolberg. What do you think about this one, Steven?
Yeah, those comparables make sense if you understand the comparables they were as Rangers. You know, it's not, you're not gonna get like prime Benoit Pouliot,
right?
Or Victor Stolberg when he had his best seasons. Now Riley Hughes is a kid that will play in college for 2 more years. Grew up in the Boston area, played with kids like Alex Newhook, and later with Alex Newhook in the BCHL. What was the team he played for? I'm blanking on the team name now. Anyway, he played in the BCHL his first year after being drafted and then went to college. Will be an assistant captain for the Northeastern Huskies in the NCAA. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him make a big jump. Spoke to him about his expectations. He's looking to get a bigger role on the team, and they're probably not going to win their conference, but they're going to at least try and be competitive. And yeah, Riley Hughes, like you mentioned, he's Jack Hughes' older brother. So when the Rangers drafted in 2018, they did draft Jack Hughes' older brother. It's just a different Jack Hughes. His younger brother Jack was born in 2003. He'll be draft eligible next year. But they're playing together for the Northeastern Huskies, so that's pretty cool for the Hughes brothers, definitely.
It's exciting. Yeah, definitely. Well, I'd assume he's going to be getting a bigger role this year with his team. I mean, pretty big jump in scoring. Hopefully he can do it again, but that's enough on that. We'll move on, Riley Hughes here. Up next, we got Patrick Kodorenko. Undrafted. We signed him in 2020. So Kodorenko, 6', 201 pounds per elite prospect. So again, another pretty decently sized kid. He's a center, left-handed shot, 22 years old. .84 points per game in the NCAA. Those are pretty good numbers in the NCAA. It's not a super high-scoring league. 10 points in 23 games played in his AHL career. I believe he played 1 game 2 years ago and 22 last year. I could be wrong on that. Was voted to become the assistant captain by his U-Michigan teammates for the 2019-2020 season. So kind of same thing when we just saw with Riley Hughes, another guy that got voted in to be a leader by his teammates. It's a trend that we're going to see during this video with the rest of the prospects we look at. A lot of leaders coming up. For the floor, kind of same thing as Riley Hughes, a middle 6 AHL forward, ceiling NHL third liner. So kind of similar to what we're going to see with Riley Hughes in terms of floor and a ceiling. Although I do believe he's a bit different of a playing style. I put his comparable as a Rueschhoff on Fedotenko. What do you think about that, Steven?
Yeah, good two-way player, defensively responsible, very talented. Just had a lot of bad luck when it comes to injuries. Yeah, when he was in his draft year, I think he broke his leg
Mm-hmm.
in his freshman year with Michigan State Spartans.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, played for the U.S. NTDP with Adam Fox and Ryan Lindgren. So there's a connection there.
Mm-hmm.
Kodorenko grew up in California, played for the Honey Bake program in Michigan, and then stayed in Michigan through his college career. And yeah, joining the Rangers last year, playing in Hartford. He's probably going to need a year or two still to get to the NHL. But if he does, he's a guy that can play either the third or the fourth line. So he's not a guy that's limited to one role.
I like it. I'll take it. Another leader, another guy that can fill in the depth part. And the Rangers, for the most part, I feel like their top six for the future is pretty much set. So it doesn't hurt to have these role guys coming up, like kind of like the Tampa Bay Lightning. They keep finding guys that are going to fill in space in their system. They come up, they play for the NHL, kind of like a Matthew Joseph type we saw last year. AHL guy comes up to the NHL and, well, helps them win a Stanley Cup. So you need guys like this.
And if you scout well, you can never go wrong with an undrafted free agent from college.
Mm-hmm.
You know, worst case scenario, they don't work out. It didn't cost you anything.
Precisely.
If they do work out, you could possibly end up with a guy like Tyler Bozak or Zach Aston Reese or Drake Kajula, to name a few. Of course, the Rangers' most recent success with undrafted free agents from college are Neil Pionk and Cam Talbot.
Yep. Not bad names. Not bad names. Moving right along. Justin Richards. Now, this is the guy I think I learned the most about when we kind of were making this list right here. So I'll go ahead. I'll give you the quick hits on him. Undrafted, signed in 2020, same year as Kodorenko. 5'11", 190 pounds per elite prospects. 23 years old, so a year older than the other guys. Center/right wing, right-handed shot. 0.7 points per game in his second and third NCAA seasons. So Mr. Consistency. 11 points in 20 games played in Hartford and 1 point in one game with the New York Rangers. He's a point per game in his NHL career. This guy he's the next Patrice Bergeron. Hear me out. According to NHL.com, 59% in the faceoff dot in the NCAA in 2019-2020. The Rangers were second to last in faceoffs, or maybe they were dead last in faceoffs last year. So this is someone that we should all be very excited about. He's won 2 NCAA championships, and back-to-back years in the NCAA, he won the NCHC's, which is the NCAA's, best defensive forward, back-to-back years before he signed with the New York Rangers. I am hyped for this kid. This is a guy that I think could be a huge role player for the New York Rangers going forward. Definitely a steal for an undrafted free agent. Steven, you fill us in, man. What do you got for us?
Yeah, probably not as high a ceiling as guys like Riley Hughes or Patrick Kodorenko, but a higher floor, definitely.
100%.
His odds to be an NHL player are higher than the other guys. He is a typical fourth line player, though. So don't expect him to be a top 6 threat or third line player. He's strictly for the fourth line. And yeah, leadership. You know, he captained Minnesota Duluth to 2 national championships. Something Austin Rueschhoff told me Justin Richards doesn't shut up about in Hartford. When they're hanging out, every chance he gets, he brings up the fact that he won 2 national championships.
Humble brag.
But just a good guy, you know, like good personality. Grew up in a hockey environment. His dad, Todd Richards, is the assistant coach for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and former professional hockey player. So he grew up in that environment. He knows what it takes, and I think that really helps with his maturity.
100%. Definitely like a Dominic Moore type.
I know he's a point per game player after one game, of course. But looking at that picture, he looks like Patrice Bergeron.
Yeah, right.
He does.
Gotta love it.
But that'll probably be the only thing they have in common.
I love it.
But as long as it lasts, he's a point per game player in the NHL. So let's celebrate.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
It reminds me of Chris Holt.
Yep.
Who holds? I think Chris Holt holds the save percentage in the NHL. I think he had 2 shutouts.
Shoot, that's news to me. I'll take it. He's still playing?
No.
So they could use him down at Hartford.
But same with Mackenzie Skapsky. I think had two games.
Shutout against the Sabres.
Conceded 1 goal. So he's up there in terms of save percentage with the best in the league. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I love it. All right, let's see who we got next here. There you go, Austin Rueschhoff, speaking of which, is a big boy right here. Same as the other two, undrafted, signed in 2020. This kid is legitimately a refrigerator on skates, though he might rival some refrigerators in size. 6'7", 229 pounds per elite prospects. Yeah, I'm not getting in that kid's way. 24 years old, so a little bit older. Center/right winger, right-handed shot, 0.6 points per game in the NCAA. So for a big guy, scoring at a pretty decent clip too. His NCAA, 8 points in 23 games in Hartford last year. So scored a little bit in Hartford. Probably expect to see a little bit more scoring this year. Hopefully continues that upward trend. But now moving on to what his head coach in the NCAA, Andy Murray, said, his compete level got higher every year. So I highlighted that from the interview I got, or the interview I read from Andy Murray, because I think it's important that when we see these prospects as they grow, is that they get more and more competitive, because sometimes you can see some of these prospects that light up and run juniors or college, and they move on to the pro level, and they kind of get dejected because they're not producing or doing as much. So hopefully that compete level can continue to get higher and higher. Maybe we'll see him in a bottom six role in the NHL soon. Kind of have his floor as a middle six AHL forward. His ceiling as a bottom six NHL forward, comparables to be Brian Boyle and Jimmy Hayes. Not an exact replica of either two, but possibly a conglomerate of them. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, like you said, big guy, plays with an edge. Exactly what the Rangers need, and also proof that the Rangers under Jeff Gorton didn't just completely ignore the physical side of hockey. Same with Adam Edstrom, who they drafted in 2019. Some other acquisitions they made. The Rangers were on top of it, but these guys take a little bit longer. Rueschhoff played for one of the smaller schools in the NCAA. Wasn't really. It wasn't drafted, of course, but he wasn't really expected to be drafted even. He didn't attend the combine in his draft year. He's a late bloomer. So if his compete level increases every year still in the AHL, he is someone who could maybe challenge for a spot in a year or two. If he does make the NHL, it'll be on the fourth line as a winger. Maybe maybe replacing Sammy Blais if Sammy Blais moves up in the lineup.
Yeah, I like that. I agree. Also, Rueschhoff, man. I like him. Big kid. After that, we got Hunter Skinner, 4th round pick in 2019. Hunter Skinner, 6'3", 190 pounds, so another big kid, 20 years old, defenseman, right-handed shot, 17 points in 26 ECHL games this past in 2020, 2021. Not bad for a kid that's considered a little bit more defensive. Also in 2020, 2021, he had 2 points in 10 AHL games. Not bad. Here's a quote from Vince Mercogliano, who I'm going to go ahead and take this quote to heart a little bit, because this is the guy, Vince, who's been at the Rangers prospect camp. He's up front. He watches all the Rangers practices. So he's seen a lot, and he had this to say about Hunter Skinner. The Rangers have some deep prospects who can rip it. But you know who might have the best shot of them all? Hunter Skinner. Coming from a guy that watches a lot of Rangers prospects play, I'll take his word for it. I have his floor as a top 4 AHL defenseman, so, just a guy. Or his ceiling being a bottom pairing 200-foot NHL defenseman comparable to someone maybe like Kevin Klein, which is not a bad comparison whatsoever. What do you think, Steven?
Yeah, Skinner is a guy that in his draft year was not expected to go very high. When the Rangers picked him in the 4th round, a lot of people were surprised. He was considered a bad pick, but he proved a lot of people wrong in the 2 years since. The points in the ECHL, 17 points in 26 games. Were, I think, the second highest in ECHL history by a teenage defenseman. Hunter Skinner then moved on to Hartford, played a couple of games with them. He had a weird season because the OHL was canceled. So, he was able to play some pro hockey and adjust to that level of intensity playing against grown-ups. Don't expect a lot of offense from him, even though he did show it in the ECHL. He's a steady defenseman, physical guy. But his biggest challenge is his position. He's a right-handed defenseman, and we have Fox, Trouba, and Lundqvist expected to be in the NHL. And then there's still Braden Schneider ahead of him. So he has his work cut out for him if he wants to make the NHL. I personally think if he does make it to the NHL, it won't be with the Rangers.
I tend to agree with that, and it's really a shame because you do root for these prospects, but the reality of the situation is, I I don't think it's expected that Hunter Skinner is going to usurp Fox, Lundqvist, Schneider, or Trouba anytime soon, unless the walls cave in on MSG with all them inside. I just don't see how Hunter Skinner could surpass that. Like, if he's going to have NHL success, it's like you said, it'll probably be elsewhere. But nonetheless, we're looking at a kid that actually has some value as a prospect and, could have some trade value. Could be someone that's used to bring in somebody else, because I definitely think the way he's played the past couple of years, I mean, decent numbers in the AHL, pretty good numbers in the East Coast League, that this could be a guy that the Rangers use to address another need, perhaps another bottom six forward or maybe a seventh defenseman. We'll see, right?
Yep.
Believe that. Oh, hold on. We got another one. We got two more. Oliver Tärnström, third-round pick in 2020. 6'1", 163 pounds per elite prospect. So a little bit taller, but on the skinnier, lighter side. He's center, left winger, left-handed shot. Career .7 points per game in the J20 National Super Elite League. I think I pronounced that right. A quote from Ashley Glover of RecruitScouting.com said, projects the middle six goal-scoring forward. Great vision, face-offs, and overall defensive aspects are still questionable as translatable to the NHL level. So I think kind of what they're saying there is the guy could definitely score a little bit, but definitely needs to work on some facets of his game before he can play professional hockey in North America, at least with the New York Rangers at the NHL level. Have his floor as a top-scoring AHL forward, ceiling as a middle six scoring forward. Comparables, Oscar Lindbergh and Artem Anisimov. I think I like the Anisimov comparison a little bit more, at least Anisimov's Rangers days, because Anisimov kind of ran into that where he wasn't a great defensive forward with the Rangers, but he was certainly a compliment to that Marian Gaborik-Derek Stepan line, I believe it was. So what do you think, Steven? You'll know a little bit more about this guy than I do.
That's a blast from the past. The gas line.
Yeah, right?
Gaborik and Anisimov Stepan.
Yep.
I think Tärnström is an interesting pick in the third round. Personally, I wasn't a big fan of the selection, and has nothing to do with Tärnström himself, but more who was still available. He had a weird season last year where he was being loaned out to a team in the third tier of professional hockey in Sweden. But while he was there on loan, he was still playing for his main team. So he was just going back and forth. He made a move to Rögle in the SHL this season. Started with their under-20 team. Off to a good start, but kind of what I expect from a 19-year-old who has played against professionals already.
Right.
So I don't think he's exceeding expectations. He's meeting them at the moment. And for him to make it, he has to exceed expectations. He needs to take that next step.
Right.
I think in terms of him personally, like he comes from a hockey background, like we spoke about with Justin Richards. His dad, Dick Tärnström, played for the Islanders, I think. So again, growing up in that environment, Nils Lundqvist had a similar thing where he played with his uncle. Growing up in a family that knows what it takes to succeed as a professional athlete definitely helps. It's not necessarily a guarantee that a player will succeed. Right. But it definitely helps in your preparation. It helps you deal with certain adversities. So I consider this a long shot prospect. I think Evan Vierling and Brett Berard, who we got in the 5th round that same year, are bigger prospects than Tärnström.
I tend to agree with that. Yeah, we'll see. Like you said, he's definitely going to need to exceed expectations if he wants to make it, especially with the Rangers' more depthier prospect guys we're kind of predicting as 3rd, 4th line NHLers are currently all kind of exceeding those expectations and are definitely jumping him in line to be, the next generation of Rangers prospects coming up through the system. So you're right. He's definitely going to have to put up some big numbers here coming up, but certainly a guy who, if he hits that ceiling, not a bad guy to have. So moving on from Oliver Tärnström, Evan Vierling, 5th round pick in 2020, 6 foot, 168 pounds, so a little bit undersized, but wait till you hear this part. 19 years old, center, left-handed shot, .69 points a game in the OHL. Nice. Defensively reliable, high motor, two-way player, dual threat scorer, enthusiastic about mucking up, and a credible shooting threat per elite prospects. If that does not get you excited for a 5th round pick prospect, I don't know what will, because this is the type of player that the Rangers and winning teams need. Not a big guy, but can do everything. The jack of all trades, the master of none. Floor, a top 6 AHL forward. Ceiling, middle 6 NHL forward. And the comparables got me so excited. A comparable to a Ryan Callahan, a Carl Hagelin, a Jesper Fast. How could you go wrong with this player? Steven, what do you got to say about this guy?
Yeah, probably a guy that should have been picked higher. I think the consensus on draft day when he was selected was that he should have gone in the third round. But the Rangers were able to grab him 2 rounds later, so good value there. He did miss a full season of hockey with the OHL being canceled last year, and no opportunity for him to play professionally. That was mainly caused by the Rangers ECHL affiliate, the Maine Mariners, opting out of the season. So the Rangers didn't have a second team to send these kids to. So I'm looking forward to see what he's going to do this upcoming season. His rights expire next summer, so they have a decision to make here. But unless he has a really bad season, I don't see them letting him go. And yeah, good kid. Grew up with Quinton Byfield. They played together as kids. Evan Vierling was actually the second overall pick in the OHL draft a couple of years ago.
Oh, snap.
So
kid that we can be excited about. I mean, hopefully all things work out for him. I mean, it'll be big. He's back in the OHL this year, right?
Yep. Third pick in that same draft was Will Cooley, by the way.
Look at that. The Rangers are loading up.
Ahead of Jamie Drysdale, who was, I think, fourth. And Brennan Offman, who they drafted this year, was a second overall pick the following year in the OHL. So the Rangers have picked recently some players who at least have that junior draft pedigree.
Right. The Rangers are loving the O show. Listen, I'll take it, man. I definitely the same thing as Justin Richards. The more I read about the kid, kind of the more I got excited for him. And hell, I just hope everything works out because, I mean, that quote right there from Elite Prospects. I mean, those are some really generous wording they gave him right there. Definitely something to be excited about, I think.
Yep. True.
So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. 7 lesser-known Rangers prospects, some quick hits, quick information about them. Thank you so much, Steven, for hopping on and talking to us, man. It means a lot. Again, this is his Twitter account here. I'll have it linked down below. Guys, this was an awesome collaboration. Hopefully we can do more stuff like this going forward in the future. Steven, it was an absolute honor and an absolute treat having you on. I really appreciate you coming on today, dude. It means a lot. Thank you.
Anytime.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you everybody for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed watching because I certainly enjoyed making it. And if you understood everything I just said, you do not need hearing aids. I said it a little bit slower this time for you guys. All right? I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.